Hello, everybody, and thank you for joining us. This is No Soundbites Allowed, and I am your host, Michael Voss, Dragon of the Southern Tier. I am happy to be here with you today, as we are going to be talking about a lot of interesting and difficult subjects, and we're going to try and get through them all together because we want to hear your voices. I'm just setting up the system. For some reason, we are seeing the system crash at the moment. It looks like people are having difficulty to be able to connect with us on YouTube. It looks like Facebook may be down. I'm not sure about DLive. Please do let us know if you are able to see the channel, because we are getting a mixed message at this moment. The system looks to be in turmoil. But we are going to try and go forward. We are going to try and provide you the best channel that we can, no matter what the internet overlords do, because we're not going to let them stop us. Please watch this live if you can. If there is difficulty, let us know, and definitely watch the show afterwards. We still want to see your comments. Now, for those who are seeing this for the first time, we do long-form political commentary every Sunday. Like today, we reach out at 2:30 p.m. around the world to hear your voices about the issues that are affecting us all, every single one of us, each time. And we already have, hello, Garth. It's good to see you as well. I'm glad that you are able to see the channel. And I know that some channels, it may be DLive, some of them are having some difficulties. Dow says YouTube is working with one instance of buffering so far. We're going to see. We're going to go out there and we're going to try and talk. So there's a lot that is going on right now. We've been talking about a lot of things this week. We know that many of the Democrats, in particular Joe Biden, Kamala Harris, many of Speaker Pelosi, Chuck Schumer, they have been desperately looking for anything else to talk about this week and at this moment than having to talk about what's going on in Afghanistan. They do not want to have this conversation. You should have this conversation. As we're going to go through it, it's going to make a big difference in our lives, and I'm afraid of what's going to happen on 9/11. On the anniversary of the 9/11 attack, it may be a very troubling day for a lot of us. Now, I'm going to explain that, and I'm going to give you some of the breaking news that has been coming out earlier today that you probably have not seen yet. And I want everyone to know, please, you are always welcome, no matter what your point of view is, to comment. This is an open forum. It is about free speech. You can send in your comments like Garth and Dal have on YouTube, on Facebook, on Twitter, on DLive, as long as the internet overlords allow, to say whatever you think. You don't have to agree with us. You can tell us what you think. That's what this is about. But there is a lot of censorship that's going on right now, and there is a lot of corruption that is going on right now, and we're going to be talking about a bunch of those. But first, I want to address something, and that is what we've seen in the latest news. Now, I'm going to The Guardian, and they have been one of the better sources since August 15th of being able to find out what is actually going on in the world, what is going on in Afghanistan, because the U.S. news, not only has it lagged behind, it has edited to a great deal what is actually happening out there. So, and this is just 13 seconds ago, here's the full story from Reuters on U.S. President Joe Biden shutting his eyes and tilting his head back as the flag-draped carcasses carrying the remains of 11 American service members killed in a suicide bomb attack in Afghanistan emerged from a military plane in Denver. Biden, Jill, Secretary of Defense Lloyd Austin, senior military officials stood somberly as U.S. troops carried the cases off of a C-17 aircraft at Dover Air Force Base. Crying could be heard in the background from a woman. These were 11 of the 13 U.S. members, U.S. service members that were killed by ISIS on Thursday in Kabul. Earlier, Biden had met with the grieving family members of some of the fallen American service members, not all of them, and he has been criticized strongly. Earlier today, and I want to get down to that story, Earlier today in Afghanistan, you may or may not have heard this mentioned, that there was two things that happened. One, there was a car bomb attack. There were suicide bombers believed to be members of ISIS that tried to get to the Kabul airport to ostensibly kill American citizens. That was about 4 hours ago, and they were struck by a U.S. military drone, and the suicide bombing car was destroyed. No civilians that we know of were killed in that attack. At the same time, a rocket struck a neighborhood just northwest of Kabul's international airport, and that killed a child. So the situation has not calmed down. The United States Embassy has been warning individuals in Kabul to be wary, to stay away from the airport. There is an imminent attack. In fact, I believe Joe Biden, the White House, has said that within the next 24 to 36 hours, essentially at the time that the United States will be running out of Afghanistan, there will be another attack by ISIS. This has been confirmed by several sources. We know that the British are now out. They are gone. Saturday, they landed their last set of troops. They had their last individuals, including a Penn Farthington, who came back to Britain, to the United Kingdom, along with several animals. He is an animal rights activist. He had gone to Afghanistan to protect animals and their rights. And he was delayed by the British government. He was being blocked by the British government in being able to leave Afghanistan with the animals that he had with him. But he did, in fact, finally make it back, and it was reported 3 hours ago. Another story that's important to know, and this is the Kabul attack, by the way. Let me show you. This is the rocket attack, the aftermath. We don't know where this rocket came from. We don't know who fired it. We do know that there was a second explosion after this one at that same site, and that may have wound up killing a child. It's just chaos. It's just chaos and insanity. And this is due to ISIS, it is believed, but it is not confirmed. In addition, there was another story here that has just been coming out, and I want to bring it up for you because these are the things you're probably not hearing about yet, that we have not heard about. Again, that the U.S. assessed the possibility of how we may or may not have killed civilians in the airstrike that took out the suicide bombing car. They believe. It is unclear. But here's the thing that I wanted to highlight on before we go to other news. And again, this is all breaking news. This is just from an hour ago. You may not have heard about this. Large numbers of British citizens continue to wait outside Kabul airport over the weekend despite terror threats, desperately hoping that there may still be a way to get on one of the last flights out of Afghanistan. Several expressed dismay at the abrupt cessation of emails and calls from UK officials about evacuation plans and the absence of official advice about what to do after repatriation flights ended, with the final British troops having left Saturday. That was yesterday. Concerns were raised about whether there was a two-tier approach to getting people out of Afghanistan, with fears that single nationality Britons had been prioritized over those of Afghan origin. Now, I went over all that news for a very clear point. Get ready and get used to this. If you are an American citizen, there will be American citizens left in Afghanistan. They will be in Kabul and throughout that country, and they will be on their own. We have been set up to be prepared for this since August 18th, when we covered the news coming from General Milley as he initially started off this cycle, this spin cycle, saying, oh, everyone who wants to get out of Afghanistan will get out. And we have heard this said by Biden. We have heard this said by the administration over and over again. If you want to get out of Afghanistan, well, we will get you out by August 31st. But if you want to stay, that's on you. We've been told that constantly. So have the people in the United Kingdom. And as we can see, being reported by The Guardian, in fact, large numbers, an unknown number, I can't tell you how many, large numbers of British citizens are already left. All of the flights have gone. U.S. stopped sending flights approximately on Saturday. It was reported by, I believe it was the New York Times, that the U.S. stopped having evacuation flights on Saturday, and now it's getting rid of the troops, getting them back home. And if you're in Afghanistan right now, that's it. Oh my God, the feed is cut. Let me see. Garth mentioned there's a little lag, and he wanted to talk about the Pineapple Express, which I want to speak about, and the rescuers. But Dal had mentioned Biden's intention is known, that he wanted the symbolic win of being able to say, we've withdrawn everyone by September 11th, so he violated the May 1st agreement, and would not be surprised if Terry's figure Biden wants optics will give them, the terrorists. The civies better find a way to run. And Dow mentions civilians have to find a way to get out of that nation as quickly as possible. And it seems that my feed has been completely cut by YouTube. We have been, and all I've done is I have gone to The Guardian and I have read the news. I read the international news from the reputable Guardian newspaper, and I have presented it to you, talking about what's going on in Afghanistan at this moment, telling you that Britons have been left behind, and that the American government has set up the perception and the expectation that there will be Americans left behind. That is all I have said, and that was good enough for YouTube to cut the channel. This is insane. This is insane, folks. I don't understand this. It is driving me nuts. Why are they doing this to us? Why are they don't want you to see what's going on. They don't want to have this conversation. And it's aggravating. And I would advise people, maybe DLive is better. Maybe Facebook is better. Maybe Twitter is better. Please check them out. I don't see what is happening here, but we are getting massively cut. I'm going to go another 5 minutes if I can. And then I'm going to start the system over if I have to try and get a clear feed to you. Because this is insulting, this is aggravating, and there is no reason why reading the news, the international news of what is happening right now, and asking you, the public, to be aware and to comment on the consequences of these facts as they exist, that is censorship, that is a problem, and I am pissed. I am pissed off. I do not understand this. Folks, we've had many shows where there is not a single problem with our feed, with our connection. We have never had a problem before. I do not know why we're having a problem now, because we are reading international news. And give me a moment here, folks. I'm trying to see what is going on with the feed, because it should be running fine. And I'm looking at my systems right now. All my systems are running fine. There should be no problem with this feed going out. Yeah, the live chat's up, which is telling me that it's not a problem with my system. Dal, you just sent me a message at 2:44. And yes, on YouTube, you're able to send me a message. I'm able to speak with you. And yet, the signal is apparently not going through. That there is a problem with the signal getting out to you. I do not understand why this is happening. If I can receive text, and if I can receive chats, and this is why I say it's censorship, folks, because I'm able to receive chats and comments, but in real time, and yet people can't see what I'm trying to show you. That tells me that isn't my system. There's something else going on. I don't understand it. I don't understand it. I am so aggravated right now on this is such an important subject to talk about. To talk to you about what's going on in our nation, what are the consequences, to realize and understand that we are losing people in our nation, that we're going to have people behind enemy lines, and that this is an intentional action by the Biden-Harris administration, as conducted by Secretary Austin and General Miley, that they have every intention, have had every intention since August 18th, as we have shown you on this program, that they have been warning us, they have been setting us up, saying, get ready. If anyone's still there, that's because they want to be. Even though we have heard from every one of our international allies, we've heard from independent groups that it is not physically possible to get everyone out of Afghanistan by the deadline arbitrarily made by Joe Biden. That is a fact. That is not a question. It is a fact. And we have seen that the British have already admitted this. In fact, we know this because Vice Admiral Benkey, and I want to show you this. Vice Admiral Benkey, according to The Guardian today, that was reported approximately 1 hour ago, stated, quote, whilst we recognize and I pay a testament to the achievement of everything that has been activated by coalition forces, but particularly the British contingent over the last 2 weeks, in the end, we know that there are some really sad stories of people who have desperately tried to leave, that we have, no matter how hard our efforts, we have been unsuccessful in evacuating. There has been a phenomenal effort achieved in the last 2 weeks, and I think we always knew that somewhere we would fall just short. And that's insulting. And that's the problem here, folks. That's the problem. We are seeing that. I am trying to tell you, this is what Vice Admiral, the United Kingdom's Vice Admiral Benkey is telling you. They knew, NATO forces, the United States knew people were going to be left behind. We know for a fact, as reported by The Guardian, people are being left behind. So far, we know of British citizens. The United States government has not told us about American citizens. They've tried to tell us that there's only 300 Americans left. The last 300 Americans are going to be going out today and tomorrow. That's what the American government has said. That is what the American news media has said. But at the same time, the British, who had 1/3 as many troops in Afghanistan as the United States, couldn't get their people out. They have 1/3 as many people in Afghanistan as the United States, and yet the United States is saying there's only 300 people left. We're going to get everyone out. How can you believe that when the news is telling you the exact opposite? Rather, the international news is telling you the exact opposite. The Biden administration is saying, oh, we've got this all under control. It's all okay. Don't worry about it. It's all fine. Except the news isn't reporting the same thing that he is trying to convince us. They're trying to tell us that no one's going to be left behind. Yes, they are. And we're going to have to deal with the fact that these Americans are going to be, God forbid they are caught by ISIS, Taliban, or Al-Qaeda, because all of those groups exist there, and all of them are trying to kill American citizens. ISIS is actively doing so and has done so. And these Americans are going to be under the gun. Not to mention the Afghanis who have worked with the United States, who are getting death threats, who have already begun to disappear, which means they've been killed. Already. Whether it's by the Taliban or ISIS or Al-Qaeda, it doesn't really matter. They are gone forever already. No matter what promises they like to make on Twitter, it's happening, folks. And now we have to get prepared for the fact that more of our citizens are going to die. And when I'm trying to tell you the truth, I'm trying to share with you the facts from left-leaning international credible sources, I see that I'm getting hammered. This is called shadow banning. This is making it hard for you to be able to hear the news. They don't want you to hear it. Kevin mentioned that the notification of this cast was disabled by Facebook, and people have to go to their page, which is fine. But they are being disabled. It is not being allowed. Michael is mentioning that there's still buffering, and I can see that on my site, that I'm seeing there's a problem here. But we're on DLive, and DLive seems to be working. This is a problem, folks. This is the censorship that we have been talking about for many months, and it's happening at the most critical time. Garth mentions Biden changed all he could of what Trump did, but he didn't change the exit date. That was more pressing, the half of the presidential orders he passed, priorities. Biden didn't think this through. And that's why we know that there are family members that were not invited to the White House who are hypercritical of what Biden has done. In particular, there's Kathy McCollum. Kathy McCollum, whose 20-year-old son, Riley, was a Marine, and he died. And he was only 20 years old and 6 months. She woke up at 4 a.m. as 2 Marines were at her door telling her her son had died. I cannot imagine that moment. I cannot imagine the emotion behind that. It is a terrible moment. It is a terrible thing to find out in the middle of the night. And so she says, and this is Kathy McCollum as quoted by the New York Post, I just want all you Democrats who may or may not have voted in the election or who voted legitimately. You just killed my son, she says, with a dementia-ridden piece of crap who doesn't even know he's in the White House, who still thinks he's a senator, she says, quote, unquote. So she's going to try and calm down, but she's highly, highly angry. And you know what? Joe Biden wouldn't talk to that mother. He wouldn't talk to that parent of a Marine that died under his orders, by his orders, on how to evacuate. That he was running away, leaving civilians on their own. He then sent in 6,000 Marines to take care of the Kabul airport to try and get some stability.